going to talk about a few real specific things, perhaps. Sister LeClaire, you've been a force in this community, but part of that included fundraising. Tell us something about you going in a dunk tank.
The dunk tank. Well, that was back probably about 8 years ago.
8 years ago?
8 years ago, maybe it's 10 by now. We were having some celebration down on the grounds. It was a picnic. It was a picnic. It was St. Francis picnic. That was right. And we used to have the picnics outdoors down on the grounds. Well, Ron Paskowski said to me, you know, you keep wanting people to raise money for your clinics, and he said, we're going to have a dunk tank, and I think it would be nice if you would go in a dunk tank. Well, I said, my God in heaven, I might drown, you know. He says, you'll always come up. So I said, well, I know I keep preaching other people to do things to make money, so yes, I'll do it. So I did. Mm-hmm. Well, it went very fine. I went down and I always came back up. Although you know, the first time down, that water was so much colder than they promised me. And I hardly get back up, and somebody throws the ball again and I'm gone down, you know. So I finally warmed the water by going up and down. Well, then it was kind of leveling off, but then the kids learned how to make the dunk tank work. So they would come up and they would push the button that they were supposed to hit with the ball. They would push it, and down I'd go, and they'd laugh and laugh and laugh, and they'd clap, and then of course I'd get seated again, and up they'd come, you know. So for about 15 minutes, and nobody was around paying any attention, for about 15 minutes I went up and down constantly, and the kids were having the best time. Well, when I finally finished, you know, I was about finished, but it was a great experience for me, really, truly. You know, I'm somebody that doesn't get too scared about too many things once I learned I wasn't going to drown.
Well, I think one of my favorite stories was that we had a baby that was born that weighed 1 pound and 13 ounces. And we had to put her into an incubator. At that time, we did not have oxygen analyzers. So as a result of that, in order to keep her breathing, we had to take turns turning her and snapping her heels so that she would continue to breathe. We did that for about 3 months, 4 months probably, until she was getting big enough so that she could be on her own and so that we could move her more easily, because as she was at that 1 pound, we could move her with one hand from one side to the other. And I think that the most beautiful part about all of it is that as she grew, we had her in the hospital for minor kind of detail things, but she was never very seriously ill. But I always felt like she was one of our children, because she was so little, and at times we weren't sure that she was going to make it. And to see that little life when she started to move and was able to open her eyes to look at us. And I think the thing that continued on was that I was able to watch her through her growing years, to see her developing. And I saw her to the day that she was married, and she asked me to sit in the first pew in her church with her mother, because she felt that I had mothered her along for so many years. But I thought the most remarkable thing was that here she was so little, not able to breathe hardly on her own, and we assisted her through that life process.
Joe, Sister Joyce talked about how much they learned from the doctors, but I can tell you that many an intern and resident learned the most in their first 2 years from the nurses.
That's today.
They saved our neck.
They did. Tell us one of your favorite stories about working with nurses at Franciscan's Camp.
Well, I suppose since I was an obstetrician, and that when I first came to town, of course, St. Anne's was going full blast
Maternity.
with all the babies.
Almost all the babies.
there, and I remember coming in there and have to drive around behind, and then go up the elevator, and every once in a while, the baby wouldn't wait for me. So the nun, or most of the time, or the sister, the nurse, would have to deliver the baby. I mean, but so they saved my neck many a time.